Hey guys, this is Ross417, and in this video I'm gonna review the most definitive hands, the biggest pots from the MiniFTOPS tournament I've played the day before yesterday. Actually this is my first poker video in English, so probably I have to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Vladimir, I'm a poker player from Russia, and I've been playing online poker for several years. And also I've been making poker videos in Russian for a couple of years. So actually now I'm going to expand my activity to the English speaking audience, which is actually a worldwide audience. So I hope you like my videos. Before we start the action, here's a couple of links where you can contact me online. So the first one is my website, which is www.instapoker.tv. I'm gonna publish all my videos there. So the second one is a YouTube channel for the instapoker.tv project, which is www.youtube.com/user/instapoker. You're welcome to subscribe to the channel and to click the like button, of course. And the third link is my Twitter. It is /VladVegas. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of using these social media sites, but in order to let you contact me easily, I've opened an account on Twitter recently, so you're welcome to subscribe, you're welcome to follow me on Twitter and to ask your questions in the case you have ones. Okay, so we can start the action. This is the first hand from my hand history review. As I said, I'm not going to review all the parts, only the most definitive ones. Okay, so as you see, I'm going to use Pocket Tracker for replaying the hands. Pocket Tracker is a piece of software I use for tracking my hands, for tracking my opponent's stats. Alright, so this guy limps from the under the gun position. This is a 6 max tournament, and to make it clear for you, it was a $22 buy-in tournament. Okay, so he limps from the under the gun position. As we can see by his stats, these two big numbers are VPIP percentage and PFR percentage. Probably I don't have to explain it to any person who's familiar with poker. So once the difference is big between these numbers, it is very likely that this is a fishy player. Then I have also a pre-flop limp percentage stat and a calling a pre-flop raise stat. So the higher these numbers are, the more likely it is that this is a fishy player. So and one more thing is that I use SharkScope HUD while playing, so it shows me how many tournaments this particular opponent has played, how much of a profit or a loss he had, what is his average buy-in and what is his return on investment. So the combination of those factors, the combination of SharkScope HUD and the Pocket Tracker stats, let me be almost sure that I make correct assumptions on the type of my opponent. So I suppose that this is a fishy guy for good reasons. I have ace queen here, so I'm definitely gonna raise. This is a very strong hand, especially comparing to these guys limping range, which can be very wide. Okay, I made it 3x, which is 3 times the big blind. Everyone else folded, and this guy calls me. So at this point, I'm almost sure that he has no premium hand. If he did, he would probably just limp re-raised me, just limp shoved. Once once he didn't do that, he probably has a medium strength hand, like a pocket pair, or like Jack 10 suited, Queen Jack offsuit, something like that, which is a hand he wants to see a flop with for a cheaper price. Okay, that's a perfect flop for me. I have a top pair, top kicker, and there are two options here for me. The first one is to check behind to hide the strength of my hand, and the second one is to play the hand straightforward. So just to make a continuation bet and see what my opponent does. I choose the second option because it is likely that my opponent has some kind of hand like a pocket pair, so he might call a bet here, and if he calls that bet, he is almost pot committed. So, and if he has a queen, he's not going anywhere. But he folds, so he didn't hit the flop, and I just took down the money which were in the pot already, which is not a bad result as well. So let's go ahead. The next hand, here I have King 10. So before we start this hand, I want to say a couple of more words about myself. So you might ask me, what are you doing this for? So what are you making these videos for? I'm gonna answer that. I'm not thinking about myself as a poker trainer or something like that. So the main reason of me making these videos is about improving my own game. So I really like the idea that these videos are recorded and stored somewhere, so I always have an opportunity to go back to my previous thoughts and previous playing experiences, and to rethink all this, and probably to make some adjustments, to make some changes to my general approach to the game, or to my strategies or something like that. So that's the main reason. But of course, I don't really mind establishing my own brand. I don't really mind if my videos will have millions of views, tons of likes, thousands of subscribers. So if it happens, I'm fine with it. That would be great. So I really hope to have a positive feedback from your side, and I really hope my ability in spoken English will be good enough to make those videos interesting. Okay, let's continue. Here I have King 10 on the cutoff position. That would be a pretty standard spot for raising. You see, I usually raise for 2x, which is 2 times the big blind when the stacks are not that deep. Okay, everyone folds, and this guy defends the big blind. I've been moved to the table, so that's a new table. I've been moved to it, and I haven't played a single hand at this table yet, because you see I have no stats for these guys. That means this is the first hand at this table. So I have a reasonably good flop, because 2 aces on the flop reduce a chance that my opponent has an ace. So he checks. Again, I have 2 options. I can check behind, and I can bet the flop. So for me, the best option here is to check behind, because if I bet, I only get called by an ace or a hand which has a strong draw, like to say King 9 of clubs, King Jack of clubs or something, Queen Jack of clubs. So for me, I think the best option is to play the hand cautiously and just to check back and see what he does on the turn. The turn comes the third club, so there is a possibility. There is a possibility for the potential flush, but my opponent checks again, so it's very unlikely here that he has a big hand to say an ace or a mate flush or a mate full house or something. So at this point, I'm almost sure that I'm ahead, and I'm gonna bet here to protect my hand against the potential flush draw. So I bet like 2/3 of the pot. See what he does. He just folds and I take the pot. Okay, again, that's a good result because I didn't have the nuts. If I had some resistance from my opponent, that would mean that he probably had me beat. Okay, the next hand, that guy shoves from the bottom position. I have pocket sevens in the small blind. I think I'm pretty well ahead of his range because so that's an unknown opponent. I only have 4 hands against him. So I'm playing against him as against the unknown opponent. So he has a stack of near 13 big blinds. So I suppose him to shove here like with any pocket pair, with any ace high hand, with a lot of big card hands like Jack 10 suited, Queen Jack suited or offsuit, regardless of suitedness, and better like King Queen, King Jack or something. So I'm ahead of his range, and that guy doesn't affect my decision too much because his stack is smaller than the initial pushes stack. So I'm gonna call here, and one more factor to consider is that he probably doesn't have a premium hand, because should he have like pocket aces or pocket kings or pocket queens, he would probably just open raised for 2 times the big blind to increase the chance of getting called from me or from the guy on the big blind. So he's not supposed to have the premium pocket pair here. So I comfortably call, and I hit the flop pretty big. So he had ace 10, so that was a flip pre-flop, with me being a slight favorite because the pocket pair hand is a slight favorite against those unsuited, unpaired 2 overcards. Alright, so I take the big pot here. I have more than 15,000 chips here, so everything's going well so far. The next hand, here I have Queen Jack of clubs. Let's see how it went. That's a pretty standard spot for open raising. Again, my standard size for an open raise, which is 2 times the big blind. Everyone folds except the guy on the big blind who defends here, this Nariani guy. As you might see, I've color coded him as a fish. It is probably based on the shark scope stats I saw at the table for this guy. He probably plays not so many tournaments, and he's probably a losing player. And we don't have too much information from the pocket tracker stats because we've only played 13 hands against this guy. Okay, let's see the flop. The flop comes King, Queen, 4, Rainbow. He checks. I just check behind because if he has a king, if I bet here and if he has a king, I'm gonna build a pot where I'm behind. There's no point doing that. And if he has nothing, I have a queen, which is a decent value, and there is not much to protect against on this board. I mean, not many draw hands to protect against. That's a great card for me. First up, it's not an ace, which would scare me a lot. And the second thing is that it's a club, so it gives me a flush draw. My opponent bets. I have a decent value right now, and I have a big draw as well. So, and I mean, there's no reason for raising here because he calls me only with the bigger hands than I have if I raise here. And if he bluffs, then by raising here, I don't let him bluff again on the river. So the best option here is to just call, I think. Okay, we see the river card. That's a 10 of clubs, which give me a second nut flush. But I mean, I would call his river bet regardless of the card game, just in case if it's not an ace. I would say that. So he bets again. I definitely have to raise. The question is, how big should the raise be? So to figure that out, I have to assess my opponent's range. I have to put him on some hand or some group of hands, and to understand how much can he pay with that kind of hand or with one kind of hand or another. So if he has a bluff, he pays nothing. So no matter how much I raise, he folds anyway. If he has a top pair like King Jack or King 9 suited or something, he probably doesn't pay too big of a bet, but he probably pays a decent bet like 4,500 or something. But if he has a bigger hand, he probably pays more. So with any two pair, he pays more. So even if I raise to like 6k, he pays me if he has Queen 10, if he has King 10, or if he has hit a straight on the river in case he has Ace Jack or something. So I can pretty comfortably put in a big raise here. I've decided to raise for 4,500, which is a standard size, like three times the amount of his bet. But I think I could have raised bigger, because if he has King Jack, he could probably pay bigger. If he has two pair or better, he's definitely gonna pay bigger. Alright, he calls, and I see that he had a smaller flush, so he would definitely pay more. But my decision was to raise to 4,500, so I probably lost some value in that hand. Again, I mean, you might say, now you know his cards, now you saw that hand, now you know what he had, so now you might think it back and decide that you had to raise bigger because you know his exact hand. I mean, it could be part of it, but I mean, take a look at how the hand was going. I didn't show any strength. I didn't show any strength on the flop or on the turn, so my river raise could well be a bluff. So he could have paid bigger with any reasonable strength hands, like a top pair or two pair or better. Okay, so let's make a short break. You might be tired from my poor English probably. So at this point I'm gonna make a quick note for the guys who wanna use my videos, who wanna embed my videos to their pages, to their websites. So you are free to do that, and what is more, you are welcome to do that, but there are conditions. So you have to not edit or modify the contents of my videos by any means. The second condition is that the commercial use is not allowed. So you have to not to set any price for the access to those videos. And the third condition is that you have to put a backlink nearby a video embedded. So it should be linked back to the www.instapoker.tv website. So should you be fine with those conditions, you are welcome to embed my videos to your pages. Alright, let's continue with the hand history. That was the hand with queen high flush. Okay, the next one. Here I've lost a big pot. Let's see how it went. The guy shoves from the under the gun position. He has like 12 big blind stack. So I have ace queen on the hijack position. I mean, my decision here is affected not only by these guys' range, but also by the presence of 4 more opponents. So if I had ace-10 here, I would snap fold, even knowing that this guy can easily have smaller, weaker aces in his range. But because of the presence of those 4 guys in the hand, I would snap fold ace-10. With ace-jack, it would probably depend from these guys' stats and my reads to that guy. So if it is a loose and fishy player, I would probably call ace-jack, and against an average opponent, probably ace-jack, it's a fold because of the presence of those 4 opponents in the hand. And ace-queen, that's a call definitely. Those guys are not that dangerous for me because they have not so many chips. To say this guy has 7.5k, if he shoves over the top, for me that's an easy call because I've already invested 5k into the pot. But it would be a terrible spot if one of those guys shoves over the top. I'll probably have to fold my hand. Okay, but fortunately it didn't happen. But unfortunately, as you can see, I was dominated by his ace-king and I had no help on the board, so I lose a significant pot here. Let's go further. A couple of small pots I've won and a big pot I've lost. Let's see how it went. Here I have ace-jack suited. The table is the same. We see all the same guys. Narayani, G-spot, melee wall. Okay. There are 2 options here for me. The first one is to free bet, which is a re-raise. The second one is to just call. There could be some reasons for free betting because this guy has a reasonably deep stack, and it's a loose enough guy to open a much wider range than a much weaker range, than the hand I have right now. So I might have some reasons for free betting, but I decided to call, which is not a mistake, definitely. And the third guy joins the party from the big blind. They both check. I mean, I'm not too much worried about that guy anymore, because should he have a strong hand, he would make a continuation bet, I think. So the only question if this guy has something or not, because he could have just checked to the razor no matter what comes on the flop. Okay, but I have a good opportunity to steal the pot right away, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to try to use it. I bet the half pot. If those guys have nothing, they both fold, so there's no reason to bet bigger here, I think. Okay, this guy calls. He probably has something, yeah, and this guy folds. So once he joined the party, pre-flop, he was the third guy to call, and he had a really big pot odds, so he might have a very wide range, including some hands like 7-5 suited, 7-6 suited, 7-8 suited, ace-7, regardless of suitedness. So he has a very wide range. I mean, on a blank turn, I would probably stop betting and just give up in this hand. But I've caught a really good turn card for me, which gives me a top pair, a top kicker, and now I'm well ahead of this guy's range, because he might have any one pair in a draw type hand. Any seven he would call. Pocket fives he would call. So now I'm well ahead of his range. He checks again. There's no reason for me to stop betting. I bet 2600 into the 5600 pot. I mean, this size is not enough. I mean, if I'm gonna protect my hand against a club draw or something, I should bet bigger. If he has something like ace-7, he might still not believe that he is behind, so he might call a bigger bet here. So yeah, I think I should have bet bigger here. He calls. So what kind of hand he can possibly have here? He might have a mate flush, but with a mate flush, he might consider check raising, because if he doesn't do that, he is supposed to check the river, and I can check behind, so he might lose a lot of value by not check raising the turn with a mate flush. He probably doesn't have a set, because even with a hand that's strong like a set, he would probably wanted to defend his hand on the flop that dangerous, and he might not have two pair as well, because that would be a standard check raise to protect his hand on the dangerous flop. So I don't know what he has. He probably has something like ace-7 or 8-7 or something, or pocket fives with the 5 of clubs. Again, it is not impossible of him having a mate flush or a set or two pair. It is not impossible, but I think it's unlikely. That card didn't change much. There are two options here for me. The first one is to check behind, because again, there is some possibility that he has a hand which already has me beat, like a mate flush or a flop two pair or something. Or I can go for a thin value. If I put him on ace-7 or or on 8-7, there's a room definitely for a thin value. I think a 3K bet. I think a 3K bet probably is the best decision here. But in the real game, I decided to bet half pot. So, and now when I'm reviewing the hand history, I don't really see a hand which can call me from behind. So if I get called here, he would have a hand which has me beat. That's obvious. So I mean, if I'm going for a thin value against a 7 in his hand, so I'm gonna bet smaller. He calls, and I see that he had pocket nines and he river the trips. I mean, that's an unfortunate river card for sure, but I think my bet sizing on the river was a mistake. So I would have lost if I'd bet like 3K, I would have lost 2,500 less. So that's an interesting hand, definitely. It's one of the most interesting hands from the entire tournament. Yeah, and I think my river decision was a mistake. I don't mind going for a thin value, but I should have bet smaller. Again, you might say that I'm somehow result oriented because I saw his cards already, but once we consider all the factors of how the hand was going, it was obvious that he wouldn't call that big of a bet with a hand worse than I had. So so for me the smaller bet would look much better on the river. Okay, so here I have pretty much the same stack as I finished that hand. After losing that hand, I mean. Here I have an open razor, these Nariani calls from the button position, and for me that's an obvious spot for a shove, because if I don't shove, if I just free bet for a smaller amount, I can put myself in a really difficult situation on the flop if I don't hit an ace or a jack. So that's the simplest and the most effective decision in my opinion. This guy can well open a wide range of hands because he's a chip leader at the table. This guy is a loose player and he can call here with a very wide range. If he had a big hand, he would probably 3-bet here. If he doesn't do that, he probably doesn't have a big hand. So I'm pretty well ahead of those guys' ranges. So shoving here is the best decision probably. Okay, I shove, they both fall. I take down the pot. There are not so many hands in that review for the rest of the review. So the next hand, here I have ace-6 on the small blind. Everyone folds in front of me, so my opponent has like 12 big blind stack, so that's a pretty standard shove, with the stack being 12 big blind deep effectively. He calls, and as you can see, he had king jack. I mean, that's a I don't mind calling with king jack here from his perspective, because I could have shoved much wider. I could have shoved some hands like queen 9 suited, queen 10, queen jack, a lot of king high hands. So calling with king jack is fine. Even against those ace high hands, it's almost a coin flip. So, and he got lucky. He has caught a king on the flop, so he wins a big pot. and I have only 6.6k now, which is a short stack definitely. Then the next hand I have pocket fours. That's a pretty standard shove. I have 11 big blinds on the bottom position. I go all in, everyone else folds. I take down the pot. Ace-8 offsuit. I'm on the under the gun position. I mean, by default, that's a fold. So, because if you shove those hands from the under the gun position at the 6 max table, that's not a profitable decision, definitely. If you fold, that's probably the best decision. But I decided to get a little bit tricky here to represent a big hand, because usually a short stack opening from the under the gun position, that means a big hand. So I hope my opponents, at the time of the hand, I hope that my opponents notice that, and that they would be scared about me having a premium hand. But unfortunately I have 2 shoves, and definitely that's a fold. I mean, this guy, that's a mistake definitely, to shove like ace-3 suited against an under the gun raise. That's a premium hand, so that's a pretty standard reshove. So as you see, this is a fishy guy, so it's no surprise that he made that kind of mistake. He probably plays he probably only sees to his 2 cards and doesn't pay much attention to what happens at the table, what his opponents do at the table. So if he paid attention, he wouldn't probably shove that weak of a hand against an under the gun open. Alright, so, and this is gonna be the last hand for the review for this video. That's a new table. I'm on the big blind with a short stack. This guy with the big stack raises from the bottom, and for me that's a clear spot for shoving, because it's not often when he has a pocket pair here, because you can get a pocket pair much less often than an unpaired hand. So if I shove here, even if he calls, very often he would have 2 overcards, so that's a coin flip. I'm not afraid playing a coin flip with the stack being that shallow. So I go all in for slightly above 4k. He calls, and he had ace-7. The flop was good for me, but unfortunately he caught his ace on the river, on the turn I mean, and the unnecessary second pair on the river. So that's how I got busted from the tournament. I didn't manage to get in the money, by the way. Well, hopefully that happens in the next tournament. So the MiniFTOPS series is going on. There are only 3 or 4 days past, so there will be a lot of action in that series. So I'm gonna play a lot more tournaments, and hopefully in the next video you will see my hand history from the final table. So probably that's it for the video. Again, I'm gonna show you the links where you can find me online. The first one is my website, which is www.instapoker.tv. I'm going to publish my videos for free there. I mean, the thing is that for now, I'm going to publish all the videos for free. If I have, in the future, if I have some exclusive content, some exclusive videos like final table in some really big online poker tournament like W Coup or Sunday Million, I'm definitely gonna sell these kind of videos. But now, I mean, these videos are not that exclusive, so, and I'm only on the starting point of making English poker videos, so I'm gonna publish them for free at this point. So the next link is the YouTube channel for the instapoker.tv project. It is www.youtube.com/user/instapoker. Again, I'm going to publish all my videos there. And the third link is my Twitter, which is twitter.com/VladVegas. Follow me on Twitter, ask your questions, post your opinions. Your feedback is always welcome. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Good luck to you guys at the tables, and see you on the next video. Thank you, bye bye, see you.